Hi everyone, I hope you're doing well. Before I begin this video and you'd like to use OCD Recovery's coaching services, please reach out to Phil at ocdrecovery.com and he'll get back to you as quick as he can. Yeah, so today guys, I wanted to speak a bit more about HOCD, homosexual OCD, gay OCD, whatever you want to call it. It's one of my main themes, my main fears, as you probably know by now because I harp on about it quite a lot on the channel. So yeah, I just wanted to go into detail about that a little bit more. And especially the core fears. So, HOCD has got a few core fears that really need to be worked on, okay? So one of the main ones is, fear of societal rejection. So, what if other people think that I'm gay? Are they going to think badly of me? Are they going to harm and hurt me potentially? Am I going to be ostracized from society because of how I am? So all of this it's just comes down to fear. So looking at the irrational beliefs, I must not be rejected. Being rejected is completely awful. I couldn't stand being rejected. And now, of course, I'm not saying that rejection is fun. Of course, it stings. But you got to think like, even if I was rejected for this particular thing, I could still try and live my life. I could still adapt to that. Sure, it wouldn't be ideal if people thought badly of me, even my friends, even my family. But it's the worst case scenario, so we have to get under that with unconditional self and life acceptance. There's other people out there who are gay, who have managed to adapt to such a circumstance with their family thinking that about them. I've got a couple of friends who are gay, and their families have come to terms with that, their friends have come to terms with that, and they live their life like they would with any other people, right? Another example, especially in the West, homosexuality is a lot more acceptable now. There's in the UK, there's many sort of gay friendly areas, across like London, Birmingham, Manchester. So it's all just perspective. It doesn't necessarily mean, because you're XYZ, that means you're automatically ostracized from society. No, it doesn't really work like that. Of course, you wouldn't like that to happen as well, and it does still happen in parts, sure. So that's why unconditional self-acceptance is key. There's moments when other people have been rejected in society before and gone on to live their life. You look at football referees, you look at politicians, you look at sports stars, all those people who do face rejection on a daily basis and still get on with their lives. So it shows you that it can be done. So yeah, that's a big element. Societal rejection, that's going to need some breaking down, but obviously from a behavioural sense as well. So exposures, and then the shame attacks, typically the 3-week shame attack exercise will be really good for that. And that was an absolute game changer for me. There's no teetering around that in OCD and anxiety recovery. I'm afraid you do have to do those behavioural changes just to really show the brain that rejection isn't so scary. Okay. And then, you've got the self-rejection as well with HOCD. So how could I possibly accept myself if I was gay? And of course, acceptance doesn't mean agreement. But, it's something that you can come to terms with, right? Of course, it's not going to happen overnight. But, if you put the brain of somebody who's homosexual into your brain, right, you'd be able to, and I'm not sort of saying that they're different people or, saying that, gay people are different. They're all human, but I'm just saying, if you did put the brain of a gay person into your brain, you'd be able to see why they think that way, right? So there's like the biological element to that, the environmental element to that. So it's not just black and white. I couldn't accept you if you were XYZ. No, you're a fallible human who has a brain who is capable of being so. You have to treat this as if it were true. Looking at the worst case scenario. So yeah, acceptance doesn't mean agreement, like I said, but you could come to terms with that being a fallible human, even if she was gay, right? And even so, it's not that bad. It wouldn't be the end of the world. I mean, of course, like you'd like to think that you're, maybe you're heterosexual, and you'd like to think that you're straight. And conversely, it can also be on the other foot as well. So you're actually gay, but you're scared of being straight. So you'd like to think that you're gay, but even if you wasn't, you could still adapt to that and adjust. Like with these worst case scenarios, right, we think they're final. We think because that happens, my life's ruined, my life's over, my life's written off. But in life, as a human, you always got to see how you can adapt to a situation, because when setbacks do inevitably come, it's not just, I'll sit there and I'll cry about it and be sad about it forever. No, it's like, look, how can I come to terms with this? How can I accept this and push on with my life? It's like if you lost a job, right, you wouldn't just be sat there in your room for the rest of your life moaning about it and thinking, how terrible it is to lose my job. No, you'd get up and go again and try and get another one, surely, right? And it's like with HOCD, even if you was gay, okay, you could come to terms with it. You might be a bit surprised, maybe you don't want that to happen, but you could come to terms with it and, like I said, push forward. Okay, so that is such a key part of HOCD, self-rejection and societal rejection. So both of those going to need to be looked at, and that's very much a process, you know, unconditional self-acceptance, right? And then also with HOCD, so we have, and there's other fears as well. So what if I, you know, the actual fear of the uncertainty, because with HOCD, it's going to feel utterly real that you aren't attracted to the people that you want, and it's going to just feel so uncertain that you've suddenly become, you know, something that you don't want to, and you get very confused because you think, how have I just gone from, you know, liking the sex that I want to potentially liking the sex that I don't want? And then you're stuck in this middle ground, this no man's land, where you just don't know what way to turn, and you put your life on hold. You know, you put dating on hold, you put your life on hold because you think, you know, I've got to figure this out, and I've got to know who I am before I can, you know, push forward with anything, you know, dating, relationships, work. And that's part of the problem, right? It's about getting comfortable with the uncertainty. You know, to feel uncertain about something isn't a travesty. Yes, it isn't ideal, but you got to think, what is certain? You know, you can't be certain over stuff when most of things in life are uncertain. You know, relationships, you know, when we're going to die, that's uncertain. You know, what's going to be happening on the 3rd of January 2026 at 10:43. You don't know what's going to be happening there. A lot of life is inherently uncertain, and it's about getting comfortable with that. It's looking at, you know, why you mustn't be uncertain. You know, why am I exempt for being uncertain over this? You know, you're not the first person who's been uncertain over the sexuality, and probably won't be the last. You know, and just to make you aware, it works for both. So, you know, HOCD, fear of being gay, and then also, you know, fear of being straight as well. So I'm talking about this in both regards. So the uncertainty, right? And, you know, trying to force that certainty, trying to bolt that down either way is when we get really stuck, right? And OCD is just going to pull away those feelings that we're after. Okay, so it's about getting comfortable with that. It's not trying to internally force anything, because you've got to get comfortable with the uncertainty. You know, it's the goal with HOCD is never to feel straight. It's to get comfortable, or the goal is never to feel gay. The goal is just to get comfortable with the uncertainty. It's never to feel that way that you want to feel, as if, you know, OCD wasn't calling the shots, because that's compulsive. That's certainty chasing. Unfortunately, we're just not going to get that. So even if you spent the rest of your life uncertain, even if you didn't feel the way that you want to feel towards the sex that you want, sure, you could actually still date the sex that you want. You could probably still have sexual relationships with the sex that you want, even when feeling uncertain. It's just this imaginary, illusionary barrier that comes in front of us that we think that's in place, but it isn't necessarily in place. You know, you could still, you know, with some degree of basically, with some sort of degree of inkling, you could still go towards that thing that you want to have, despite the OCD calling the shots. Okay, there's no saying because you're uncertain you can't date girls, for example. You still can. Okay, and it can be quite a good exposure to go towards that uncertainty. Like I put off dating for about 7 years, and, you know, that was just massively fueling the OCD, because it said, you know, you can't date and have what you want until you figure this out. And, you know, that was like a subconscious block that was just keeping me stuck. So you've got to be aware of that. So yeah, societal rejection, self-rejection, the uncertainty, the actual fear of being gay as well. So would that really be so terrible? You know, I mean, like, if I woke up tomorrow and I was gay, right? Sure, I wouldn't like it, but I'm sure that I could adapt to it in some way. You know, if I really wanted to, I could go celibate. If I wanted to have a sexual relationship, I guess I could. Probably wouldn't be too mad about it, but I guess either way, other people have done it before, so, you know, I guess I could too if I really wanted to. But, you know, I could go completely celibate if I wanted to. So it's about bringing that down as well. It's about bringing down the catastrophizing of actually being gay. You might get some other fears in there as well. So I've seen where people get, you know, fear of developing HIV due to being gay. So that'd have to be broken down with unconditional self and life acceptance. But yeah, as we've seen before, like, you know, other people have adapted to such a circumstance and actually live a pretty good life because of their sexuality. So you've got to think, well, surely it wouldn't be so awful if that was true, right? Because it's only a part of your life. Imagine, like, you've got a pie which signifies your life, and it's sliced up into, you know, 8 or 9 slices. So you have your sexual preference, you have your job and work, you have, you know, your hobbies, you have travel, you have your physical health, you have, you know, your finances, all of those different things. That sexuality is just a slice of the pie, right? And it's not the whole pie like we think it is. And that's with HOCD. You know, we put the sexual preference on the pedestal and it consumes us 24/7. You know, am I gay? Am I straight? I need to know this right now. It's so awful if I don't. And you put it on that pedestal and it's like you're trying to obtain this finish line thing that says, oh, you're gay and you're straight, but that's just never going to come. And the more you chase that, the more it's going to pull away. So you just got to be aware of that. You know, it's de-catastrophizing. Even if he was gay, even if even if you were straight, if the shoe's on the other foot, other people have made peace with that and made the best of it in their lives. You know, you look at it in the Middle East, some people have had to be in like the wrong relationships. It's a sort of Muslim people that are gay have had to make do with a straight relationship because of their religious beliefs. And if they could do it, then you could do it if the shoe was on the other foot. You know, so it's just an example. It's not, of course, it wouldn't be ideal, and we'd like to date the people that we want. But even if we didn't, you know, like I said before, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Okay. Another example is fear of fear of never going back to who you were. So fear of fear, right? And this is a big driver of fear in the OCD and anxiety recovery journey. What if I don't ever go back to the person that I want to be? What if I have to feel the discomfort of the anxiety and the uncertainty forever? And, you know, trying to get back to that original place, that is where the problem lies. Because, you know, again, it's compulsively chasing something. You're chasing a sensation, you're chasing a feeling, and OCD knows that, and it's just going to pull it away. So again, it's making peace with the worst case scenario. So what if I never go back to who I was? And this concept's pretty irrational, right? Because people are changing every day. Like, I'm not the same person that I was yesterday. I'm not saying that, you know, my sexuality just changed like that. I'm saying the things that we read, the things that we learn, the experiences that we do, we're constantly this ever-changing process, right? And there isn't one point in time where we're going to be the same as what we was before. So that's very important. You know, even if you never went back to who you was, you'd probably be in actually a better position now than you would be several years ago, because of the things you've learned on the recovery journey. You know, the rational principles, the Elliott teachings, you know, all the stuff in the books and in the community. If you're, you know, having coaching and in the WhatsApp groups, etc., you'd actually probably be in a better position now, having gone through or going through this experience. So yeah, you know, even if you never went back, you have to break that down. You know, some people might have a car crash and they never go back to who they were. You know, somebody might get paralyzed and they can't walk again. You know, it's all about adapting to the situation and, you know, making peace with not being where we want to be. You know, people's lives change every day. Like I said, you might have a car crash, you might have like a heart condition that puts a restriction on you. You might get some sort of injury. You know, all these things happen. So you just have to, you know, if somebody's paralyzed in a wheelchair is saying all day long, oh, I wish I was going back to who I was, they're going to be miserable, aren't they? You know, it overlooks the reality of their situation. I'm not saying, yeah, you're XYZ in terms of your sexuality, but it's just a fact. It's just a perspective shift that we can use there. And then another one as well is the religious angle, which really gets into HOCD. So, you know, people in, you know, the Muslim community, it's going to provide that anchor point, maybe more so than in the West, where you know, homosexuality is more accepted. And with this, like, you know, with the religious angle, a lot of this would be compassion. So surely, like, if God made you in that way, then it'd be impossible for you to be homosexual, right? So we just got to look at it like that. You'd actually want compassion for yourself. If he made you in this way, then you know, it'd be impossible for things to be different, right? And it does take a while to see because of the deeply held religious beliefs, which is very understandable. But we just have to look at it from where possible, a more compassionate angle, right? And, you know, worst case scenario, so say you was homosexual with your religious beliefs, you know, what could you do? You could go celibate, or you could still try and have, you know, a straight relationship, which some people do with their religious beliefs, right? And, you know, that is just the way that it could run, and you just have to make room for it in that regard, okay? So you find that, you know, even in all the worst case scenarios, across the different fears, there's always some mitigating factors. There's always some respite that you can take from that. And it's just about bringing down, you know, the worst case scenario, you know, changing these rigid demands and absolute musts and shoulds and oughts to preferences. You know, I prefer not to be XYZ, but if I am, then I could adapt, I could adjust. And it's not this final definition that means you're doomed. You know, as I said, there's always ways in which we can adapt and adjust to things, and that's just life. That's being human. We have to do that. Otherwise, you know, we're just going to be miserable all day long and overlook the reality of our situation. Okay, so those are some key fears with HOCD. And yeah, hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.